Good morning, guys. How are you? Today we are going to start lesson number 5, and this is on poverty. Poverty is such an important objective, for the Sustainable Development Goals, that it was made the number 1 SDG. So SDG1 is the UN effort to reduce poverty in the world. Okay, so we talk about this in this lesson, and then in the next lesson we will have hunger, which is again also very important, and then we have children. So now the problem is that some people in the world, and there are very few people, there's not so much. Some people, they take away or they use a lot of disproportionate use of resources that everybody should share equally. So for example, water, food, electricity. So all these things, they are appropriated by some very few people, and they can have a very comfortable life with all those resources that they can get. Basically because they can afford, because they're rich, they can buy everything or anything that they want. And the way they use these resources, the way they are using, the speed at which, they are using, it appears that very little or nothing will be left for future generations. So say that our children, grandchildren, they will have nothing left, for them. So this is how these resources are being consumed. So others, and then the other people, maybe majority of people, more than 50% of the people of the earth, they use very little resources, very limited resources, because they are unable to buy, anything. They don't have the money because they are poor, and so they remain exposed to starvation, starvation, hunger, disease, byoki, because there is no medical attention given to them, and the disease, and then death. So this is the situation, this is the cycle of poverty in the world. People who do not have the money, they cannot buy anything, they cannot move away from the cycle of poverty. This is called cycle like agitation, cycle of poverty. So it goes on, and you cannot get out of it because you do not have the money, and you do not have the education, and you do not have the jobs, and you do not have anything that can help you to come out. So you cannot step out of poverty. Now, in this world where we live, it is marked by a huge economic gap. That it exists between the rich and the poor countries. That's one. So internationally, there is a gap between the rich and the poor countries. Some countries, majority of the countries are very poor. Just a few of the countries, maybe 20, 30 countries, are very rich. And so most of the countries are very, very poor, maybe more than 100. They are very poor. In the same way, this is the comparison between rich and poor countries, but within any country you can take, whether rich or poor, there is also a gap between the rich people and the poor people. So that is the other reality. So even in the rich countries, you have poor people. So America may have many poor people, although it is considered to be a very rich country. And those poor people in America, maybe their average income may be only, very, very basic subsistence level, and they can survive only very giri. But on the other hand, you have very, very rich people in America. Some people, not all. People like Bill Gates, people like Elon Musk, people like, Larry Page and so on. And these people have so much money that they can do anything that they want to do. So the problems faced by these two groups, the countries and the poor people, for example, they are interrelated. They relate with each other, and also, and they have the same causes also. And so in this section, we'll look at how the global issues, they relate to local issues through the exploration of three themes we have. We have poverty, hunger, and children. So now, as an introduction to this lesson on poverty, let's look at this image. This is the image of how most of the people in the world live. So I say most because I think more than 50%, more than half of the population in the world lives in this kind of a situation. Makeshift. This is made of, this is not a home for anybody, but they call it a home. And this is just putting together some thrown away sheets of tin or metal or something, and make a very, very small size room in which there may be 8 people or 10 people of a family living within that one room. So that is also a reality. So now, how much money do you need to live a comfortable life? Of course, you cannot live like this. This is not a comfortable life. And also the world's average, let's say, income in poor countries is less than $2 a day. So in $2, you cannot live. $2 is only about 200 yen or 220 yen or something. And that is not enough to have a comfortable life. Then another question is that what do you think of some of the challenges that are faced by children growing up in a poor country? So what are the challenges? The challenges are that they are living a life without water, without food. They have to travel long distances, maybe 3, 4, 5 kilometers to get water for the family. And they can bring only 10, 12 liters or something on their heads, and they walk back. And then they have to go again because that water is not enough for the family. So they are walking 2 to 3 times maybe, in a day, just bringing water. They cannot go to school. Even if there is a school nearby, they cannot because they don't have the time. They have to go to get water. Also, maybe they have to help their father in a farm, where they are growing some vegetables or something. And if they go to school, who is going to help the father with the work on land? So these are some of the situations. Now, This lesson is called Poverty, Leaving No One Behind. So when we work towards reducing poverty in the world, we do not want to leave anyone behind. So leave anyone behind means 誰も残さないでみんな一緒に連れて行くと。We don't want to leave anyone behind because so far our system in the world has not been able to take everybody along. So what does this mean? It means that, the system with which we have been working, that is a capitalist system. We should remember that. Capitalist, Shihon Shugi. So Shihon Shugi system believes that when some people work and they make money, then that money trickles down to the lowest level. It doesn't work like that. The money does not trickle down to everybody. Everybody cannot benefit from a few people working. So, but we have to think about those people who are left behind. Maybe they didn't have a job. Maybe they are not able to find a job, or maybe they are not. They don't have the skills that are required to do a job. But still, they are human beings. They have to be taken care of, and that is what the UN wants, to leave no one behind. Now, how much money do you need to live? You need, money which more money than you think, because $1 or $2 in a day per person is not enough. You need much more. You may be able to survive by not eating both times, morning and evening. Maybe you can eat only one time in a day. But, and you may survive, you may not die, but that is not living. That is not a fulfilling life. So we have to think of how much more we need to have a good life. Then there are approximately now 700 million people in the world now who are living in poverty. And they are living in poverty, but also absolute poverty. Not only poverty, absolute. Absolute means they are nowhere. They are nowhere. Their situation is really bad. So there are two types of poverty we can think of: absolute poverty and relative. Relative means darekani kurabite. So for example, in America, you have people, billionaires like Elon Musk or, Bill Gates or somebody. And then you have poor people whose income is only maybe $1,000 a month. 1,000 or maybe 1,500 or something. Now these people are very poor because the $1,500 does not take you very far in America. Food has become expensive now. Housing is now expensive. You cannot afford to buy a house. Even a small one-room house you cannot buy if your income is only $1,500, and you may have 3 or 4 children, a family of 5 or 6, and you are really poor. No, but the difference is that you are really poor compared to the rich people in America, or the other people in America, middle class people or rich people in America. But in the poor countries, like in Africa, for example, you are actually poor no matter who you compare with. So that is absolute. That is just poverty. $1 a day, $2 a day is nothing. But in America, as I said, you may be making $1,000 or $1,500, and you are still poor because compared to other Americans, you are poor. So that is relative poverty, relative to somebody. Okay, now, and, when you are so poor, you cannot send your children to school. There is not enough to eat. You cannot get medical care. So what happens? Then and especially women, and who are single mothers and trying to take care of the children, you cannot come out of the cycle of poverty when you have this kind of a situation. And so your children also will remain poor. They cannot uh, break away from this cycle of poverty. Now, why are so many people living in poverty when other people, maybe small number of people, have so much wealth, so much money? So one reason is that there is an unbalance in global trade, global security, the boy. So the world is functioning according to what I have, I sell in the open market or international market. What you have, you also sell. So let's say countries like Japan or England or America, these countries, they sell high technology products. Now, high technology products are very expensive. For example, they will sell cars, high quality televisions, and these kind of manufactured goods. Manufactured, we say samsara. And now, minimum that you can sell a car is at least $10,000, $12,000, very small car, basically. But what a poor country can sell is what they produce through agriculture, not factory produced, not in a kojo, but on the field. So maybe the poor countries will sell what? Something like coffee, tea, vegetables. So these kind of things they sell. And these kind of things they cannot get a good price because the buying company in Japan, for example, or in America or elsewhere, they are very strong. Buyer is always strong. And so they will only give you the money which is minimum, Ichiban Kunai, so that the farmer may be able to live, but but he will not. It will not be a meaningful life. He will live a life of poverty. So that is the reason why these people in the poor countries are not able to come out of their poverty. And so, give you an example. For example, I said that Japan is an export-oriented country. It has always been able to export technology, technology products, high-tech products. So like cars, for example. So when it exports one car, one Toyota Corolla or something, a small car, it can get $20,000, 2 million yen, by exporting one car. But when the Brazilian farmer exports coffee, he has to export one container, 20 feet container. And the whole container, it will be so many tons maybe. He cannot get $20,000 or even less, because coffee price, international price, is controlled by these big companies. And so for example, Starbucks sells coffee in Japan for $4 or 450 yen. How much do they pay for one cup of coffee when they buy from Brazil? They pay only 3 yen or 4 yen. Now from 3 or 4 yen, they make 450 yen. Okay, so that is the difference or unbalance between the economies and also between the products that are produced in developing countries and the products that are produced in Japan, America, Europe, and these countries. Therefore, you have this inherent imbalance in the value of goods. And also the poor countries, they do not have the infrastructure to make value added product. Value added means, the product is, let's say, coffee, but you need to pack it into a very attractive packing, which will attract a buyer. But they do not have, mostly, they do not have the technology to make this kind of an attractive packaging. Packaging is very important. The more beautiful your packaging is, the more you can hope to get a good customer and a good price for your product. If you just put the coffee in a brown envelope, a small envelope, and try to sell it somewhere, you cannot sell that. Nobody will buy. So this kind of a situation is there. And, unless it changes, you cannot do anything. Now, on the other hand, we're talking about poverty, and don't think that poverty is only in poor countries. That is wrong. Poverty is everywhere. It is in the rich countries too. So, for example, Japan now, I think 14% or 15% of the people in Japan are poor. But their poverty is relative poverty, relative to the other Japanese people. Right? So their income is not Nihaku yen per day. They are still making, maybe they have 100,000 yen, Juma yen or something, minimum income. But for them, that is a relative poverty because that is very little compared to an average Japanese who may be making per month Sanjuma and 300,000 yen or 400,000 yen. So compared to that person, an average person, they are living in a relative poverty because they only have 100,000 yen. So we have to remember that. Now, in Japan now, there is some realization that we also have poor people and their numbers are growing, especially after the pandemic. And so there is some action now that is being taken by some concerned citizens, people who are good people who like to help the poor and the weak. So we have these people who have started some initiatives, some programs. So one example is Kodomo Shokudo. You distribute food or you give food to children who are hungry and whose parents cannot afford to buy food for the whole family. So these kind of programs are now starting in Japan. And who is doing it? So as I said, some people who are very concerned and maybe they have some kind of time and money and they can spend that on poor people. Also, you have like local governments, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, NPOs, non-profit organizations. And so all these people and the society, they get together and they try to help poor people in Japan. There is also now they have opened up food banks. So food bank is a place where you can donate food. Jibun no ie ni aru food o gift dekiru. And it will be used to feed the poor children or poor people. So by giving a little of our own time, if we give our own time, we go and spend time with the poor people, we listen to them, we talk to them, we play with them, and we share. We share with them some of these things. Then we can make them feel uh, loved. We can make them feel cared for, that somebody is caring for us, and so they can at least be uh, slightly more happy uh, compared to if nobody is looking after them, nobody is taking care. That is a very bad situation. So if some of us people, if some people can care, they can give them food, they can give them love. So that would be a very good situation. And by doing that, we can help these people to come out of poverty. We must all do that, all of us. Everybody should try to do as much as we can to help such people who are not so fortunate, who are not so lucky. And by doing this, we can make sure that nobody is left behind, so that we don't leave anybody behind, because that is terrible. Okay, so uh, this is our lesson for today. I hope you liked it. And so I will see you again in a couple of days. And thank you very much. See you.